Yorick. We've been friends for so long, and I was wondering why the other day. Well, I came to the conclusion that it's because you're a very good listener. Famous works of art are usually revered as this immutable truth that can't and shouldn't be changed. These perfect nuggets of aesthetics that touch the divine by being impervious to any sort of flaws. However, like anything of human origin, works of art are subject to mistakes in the representation of reality. Errare humanum est, after all. And I am not talking about different styles. When Picasso puts the nose where the ear should be, it is not a mistake. When Modigliani elongates the face to show the frail beauty of a damsel, it is not a mistake. No, I'm talking about those who wanted to represent reality accurately, but somehow forgot, misunderstood, or simply were forced to bend the rules of perspective, anatomy, or art altogether. These mistakes gave us masterpieces in their own right because, as my old Japanese watercolor teacher told me, beauty is in the flows, not in perfection. On this watercolor from 1938, Munch shows us his neighbor's dog, with whom he had some misadventures. The dog apparently being a vicious piece of work. Munch even thought about selling his house to escape the wrath of the four-legged companion. The facial features, however, seem to resemble those of a human being more than a canine. Maybe it is that weird smile or the deep-set eyes, I don't know. What is more perplexing is that Munch seems very comfortable in depicting dog in other sketches or paintings. Let's stay on the topic of animals with this second one. Abraham Mignon was known for his highly detailed still lifes and flower bouquets everywhere in 17th century Europe. The attention he gave to every petal of a bouquet, every leaf, every thorn was impeccable. But if you look for him in a search engine, you will see his name is often associated with the word cat. Why could it be? Well, his masterpiece, The Overturned Bouquet, contains not only a huge and fantastic bouquet, but also a cat hissing. And this cat is, to say the least, very anthropomorphic too. Not only he has a human nose, but his whole expression looks like he is about to belt memory like he is on Broadway. When Gilbert Stuart gave his portrait of George Washington, he thought he was honoring one of the great founding fathers of his country. And indeed, Washington appears very dignified here. But turn your attention to the props around him, especially the books resting under the table. And you'll see a tome titled Constitution and Laws of the United States, with a missing T. Being on the side of a book, a generally flat surface, let's admit it, it is impossible for this letter to be hidden by a fold or whatever blind spot, and is therefore a spelling mistake. Sandro Botticelli, one of the masters of the early Renaissance, was, like most painters of his era, extremely versed in anatomy and body measurements. It is therefore astonishing, when you look at the birth of Venus, to realize that her head and her feet are extremely small compared to the rest of the body. Her neck is also very, very long, and although it conveys a certain grace to the beautiful young woman, one cannot help thinking that something is amiss in her proportions. Caravaggio, the master of light and shadows, took on this very famous religious subject in 1601. His mastery of colors and composition is, as always, evident, but the right hand of Saint Peter, which is further in the back, appears much larger than his left hand, placed right in the foreground. Is it a perspective error or an intentional, albeit a bit clumsy, attempt at making Jesus look smaller? We will never know. The good Rembrandt should have followed a few more anatomy lessons from Dr. Tulp before starting on this painting. Although the teacher and his pupils are marvelously depicted in exquisite detail, the proportions of the cadaver being used as a show and tell prop are more approximative. The right arm is very short, especially compared to the left arm, as well as his legs. Maybe Rembrandt wanted to fit the body in the frame and had to do some over adjustments. Also, just show the tendons and nerves from the écorché left hand to any doctor, and he or she will tell you this is not at all how our insides work. Even if he was an excellent sculptor and painter, Michelangelo seemed to have some room for progress in Latin. His sculpture depicting Moses was based on a wrong translation of the word cornutam in the Bible. You see, after being addressed by God on top of the Mount Sinai and given the tablets of the law containing the Ten Commandments, Moses descended to his people in the desert. His face was seen to shine with a divine light. The word cornutam, used in the Latin translation of the passage, can mean both shining and horned. And Michelangelo chose the latter. The issue is that everybody followed suit, and we now have multiple museums with a horny Moses in paintings and sculptures. Manet depicted in numerous paintings the festive times in Paris during his era. One of the party spots of the time was the famous Folies Bergère, and Manet showed us the barmaid in her environment in this wonderful canvas. We quickly understand that the mirror placed behind the bar is a clever trick, allowing us to see the crowd as the pretty barmaid would see it herself. The issue here is that between the reference provided by the foreground of the painting, the barmaid herself, but also the bar counter and the accessories placed on it, and their reflection, there is sometimes some differences. The barmaid seems to be in a different position, slightly turned on the side and compared to the front view, and her dress much heavier on the derrière side. The bottles are not exactly in the same position, and finally, there is this man trying to convince the pretty girl to have a drink with him. Is nowhere to be seen. But that is most probably because he is the viewer of the painting. Manet therefore did the first 3D virtual reality painting known to man. La Grande Odalisque, representing a lusciously reclining naked woman, created a scandal when Ingres released it. Not only, of course, nudity was not a popular topic in those prudish days, but also, in order to give more flow and elegance to his model, Ingres elongated her back so much that her allure was considered grotesque and off-putting. Some doctors looking at the painting estimated that the young lady would need 4 to 5 extra vertebrae to look that way. Let's finish with Norman Rockwell. The famed illustrator is known for his almost photographic precision and detailed depiction of reality. However, in the group of people reading the stock exchange. The gentleman on the left, although seemed to have his legs straight, is resting his hand on his bended knees. What sorcery is this? And there you have it, dear viewers. 10 remarkable examples of art where the human hand may have slipped or perhaps intentionally veered from the path of realism. These so-called mistakes, however, have only added to the allure of these masterpieces, showing us that even the greatest artists are not immune to the occasional blunder. As we explore the world of art, let us remember that perfection is in the eye of the beholder, and sometimes it's the imperfections that truly make a work of art memorable. Until next time, my fellow art aficionados, keep your eyes open for those hidden gems and delightful blunders. Art is full of surprises after all. Good night.